I left my boyfriend for a man who promised me the world. When that fell apart, I ran back, only to find his new fiancée wearing my old necklace. She smiled and said, "Oh, you must be Emily. He told me all about you and how lucky he is that you left." I met Mark when I was 25, living in Austin, Texas. He was the kind of man who made you feel safe just by being around. Steady, reliable, and kind-hearted. We met at a friend's barbecue, and from the moment we started talking, there was an ease between us that felt natural. Our relationship blossomed over shared interests, hiking the Barton Creek Greenbelt, exploring the local food scene, and cozy nights watching movies. We dated for 5 years. Mark was always there for me, supporting my career aspirations and being my rock during tough times. He wasn't flashy or overly romantic, but his love was evident in the little things, bringing me coffee in bed, remembering the names of my coworkers, and always making time for me. But as time went on, I started to feel restless. Our life together was comfortable, maybe too comfortable. I began to wonder if there was more out there, more excitement, more passion, more adventure. Then I met Alex. Alex was everything Mark wasn't. Charismatic, spontaneous, and full of life. We met at a marketing conference in New York City. I was there representing my company, and he was one of the keynote speakers. His talk was engaging, and afterward, we ended up at the same networking event. We struck up a conversation, and I was immediately drawn to his energy. Over the next few days, we spent more time together. He showed me parts of the city I'd never seen, took me to rooftop bars with stunning views, and made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. He told me about his travels, his successful startup, and his philosophy on living life to the fullest. When I returned to Austin, we kept in touch. Daily texts turned into late-night phone calls. He sent me plane tickets to visit him, and I found myself making excuses to go. Each time I saw him, I felt more entangled in his world. Eventually, he asked me to move to New York. He painted a picture of a glamorous life, weekend getaways, high-profile events, and a love that burned brightly. I was torn. Mark had been my constant, but Alex offered a whirlwind romance that was hard to resist. After months of inner turmoil, I made the decision to leave Mark. I told him I needed to find myself, to explore new opportunities. He was heartbroken but didn't try to stop me. He simply said, "I hope you find what you're looking for." I moved to New York and into Alex's penthouse apartment. At first, it was everything he promised. We attended exclusive parties, dined at Michelin-starred restaurants, and traveled to exotic locations. I was living the dream, or so I thought. But as time went on, cracks began to appear. Alex was often away on business trips, and when he was home, he was distracted. He became controlling, questioning my every move, and criticizing my choices. The passionate man I fell for turned cold and distant. I discovered he was seeing other women. When I confronted him, he dismissed my concerns, saying, "This is how things work in my world." I felt betrayed and foolish. Realizing I had made a terrible mistake, I left Alex and returned to Austin. I reached out to Mark, hoping to reconnect and perhaps find solace in the familiarity of our past. He agreed to meet me at our favorite cafe. As I walked in, my heart raced. But what I saw stopped me in my tracks. Mark was sitting at our usual table, holding hands with a woman. She was wearing the necklace he had given me on our 3rd anniversary, a delicate silver chain with a small sapphire pendant. She looked up, smiled warmly, and said, "Oh, you must be Emily. He told me all about you, and how lucky he is that you left." I was stunned. Mark looked at me with a mix of pity and resolve. "Emily, this is Sarah. We're engaged." I managed a weak smile, congratulated them, and left the cafe, my heart shattered. Now, I sit here reflecting on the choices I've made. I left a man who loved me for a fantasy that turned into a nightmare. And in doing so, I lost everything. I didn't cry right away. I thought I would. I walked out of that cafe numb. It wasn't until I got to my car and sat in the driver's seat that it hit me. I stared at the steering wheel, gripping it tight, and the tears just spilled out. Ugly, loud crying that made my chest hurt. I wasn't crying just because Mark had moved on. I was crying because I realized he had every right to. I'd broken something that could never be fixed. And now someone else was living in the life I used to have. But what really dug into me, what I couldn't shake, was that necklace. That sapphire. I remember when he gave it to me. We were walking along Lady Bird Lake, and he stopped, pulled out a tiny box, and said, "You've been my calm in the chaos." I wore that necklace every day. It wasn't just jewelry. It was a part of our history. Seeing it on her neck was like someone had ripped a piece of my memory out and handed it to a stranger. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my old bedroom at my sister's place, staring at the ceiling, thinking of all the times I chose wrong and didn't listen to my gut. I thought maybe I could still talk to Mark. Just one more conversation. Not to beg him back, but to explain. I owed him that. Maybe I owed it to myself. So, 2 days later, I went to his place. I stood outside the door of the apartment we used to share. It looked the same from the outside, same doormat, same potted plant I picked out 2 years ago that somehow wasn't dead. I knocked. I could hear footsteps, then the door opened. It wasn't Mark. It was her, Sarah. She was wearing one of his flannel shirts, sleeves rolled up. She looked surprised, but not angry. Like she'd been expecting me. I figured you might come back, she said calmly. Mark's at work. Do you want to come in? I hesitated. Everything in me said no. But I stepped in. The place was different. New furniture, new colors, but some things were still there. The bookshelf we built together. The dent in the kitchen cabinet from when we dropped the cast iron pan. And photos. Photos of them on the fridge, on the hallway wall. There was one on the side table of them at Enchanted Rock, the same spot where Mark and I once hiked, and he kissed my forehead and told me he saw forever in my eyes. You want coffee? She asked, already walking to the kitchen. No, I said. I wanted to talk to Mark. Just to clear the air. She turned around and looked at me. He told me what happened between you two. He told me everything. I didn't ask for it. He needed to say it out loud, I think. I nodded slowly. I understand. She stepped closer. But there's something he didn't tell you. He still kept the necklace. He never got rid of it. I found it in the drawer one night. He didn't give it to me. I took it. That hit me like a punch. Why? Because I needed to know, she said. I needed to know what he still held onto. And when I wore it today, it wasn't to hurt you. I just wanted to see what would happen. What he would say when you saw it. I stared at her. And? He didn't say anything, she said, almost regretfully. He looked at it, and then looked away. The silence between us grew heavy. Then she said, he's been different lately. Quiet. Sometimes I wonder if he's really here with me or if he's still stuck in something he's not willing to admit. My stomach twisted. Was she trying to say he wasn't over me? Or was this just her way of marking territory? I couldn't tell. Maybe I should go, I said. As I turned to leave, she added, just know this, if you really loved him and you really want him to be happy, you'll let him go. For good. I left, but my mind was chaos. That night, I got a message. A number I hadn't saved, but I knew it. Mark, we need to talk. Alone. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. The place. You know where. That was all it said. I stared at the message for a long time. The place. He meant the park bench by the water, under the big oak tree, where we used to go after arguments to talk. That place had seen every side of us, laughing, crying, apologizing, dreaming. I didn't answer right away, but I knew I would go. And suddenly, I was drowning in questions. What did he want to say? Was this closure? A goodbye? Or something else entirely? What I didn't know, what I couldn't have guessed, was what I was walking into. Because the truth he was about to share wasn't just about him. It was about Sarah. And it was about me. And it was going to change everything. The next day, I got there early. I sat on the bench under the oak tree and tried to keep my hands from shaking. The lake was calm. Kids were playing in the distance. People jogging, walking dogs. Life just happening. And here I was, waiting to open a door I wasn't sure I wanted to walk through again. Mark arrived right on time. Same worn denim jacket. Same quiet walk. He sat next to me but didn't look at me right away. We just sat in silence for a moment. Then he spoke. I didn't think you'd come. I nodded. I almost didn't. I figured, he said. More silence. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled something out. It was a photo. Us. At his cousin's wedding in Dallas. I was in a green dress, and he had that half smile he always made when he was trying not to smile too much. I kept this, he said. Even when you left. Even when I told myself I should throw it out. I took the photo from him. My throat tightened. I'm not trying to mess with your life, I said. I just needed to see you again. I don't know. Some kind of closure. Mark leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Closure, huh? That's not why I asked you here. That caught me off guard. Then why? He sighed, long and heavy. Because you need to know something. Something Sarah doesn't know. Not yet. Now my stomach dropped. I found out something a few weeks ago, he said. I didn't want to believe it. But it's true. He looked at me for the first time, and his eyes were sharp. Sad, but sharp. Sarah's been talking to someone, he said. Someone I know. I blinked. What do you mean talking to? I mean texting. Meeting up? She thinks I don't know. But I do. My mind was spinning. You think she's cheating on you? I asked, almost whispering. I don't think. I know, he said. It's not physical yet. I don't think. But it's emotional. She confides in him. About me. About you. I stared at him. Who is it? He hesitated, then said, his name's Brendan. Everything froze in me. Brendan. Alex's best friend. I'd met him once. He'd been around during those New York days, friendly, quiet, always watching. He knew everything about my mess with Alex. I told him things I shouldn't have, back then. I trusted him. Wait, I said, standing up. How do you know Sarah knows Brendan? Mark pulled out his phone. Showed me screenshots. Messages. Photos of them at a coffee shop. One picture was blurry, but it was clearly them, laughing. He doesn't live here, Mark said. He was just visiting. That's what she told me. But he's been here 3 times in the last month. I felt sick. She talked to him about me? She knows everything, Mark said. And now I know too. And you're not going to like this next part. I braced myself. Brendan knew exactly who you were when you were with Alex, he said. And when you left. And I know he reached out to Sarah on purpose. This whole thing. I think it was planned. Not by her. But by him. Why would he do that? I asked, my voice shaking. I don't know, Mark said. Revenge? Curiosity? Maybe he wanted to see if he could break something that was already fragile. The world tilted under my feet. I need to talk to her, I said. Mark looked at me hard. And say what? That I know? That you know? She'll just deny it. Or maybe she'll admit it. But what then? I didn't have an answer. He stood up and faced the lake. I thought I was healing, he said. I really did. I tried to build something with her. But maybe you were right. Maybe I was always holding onto something that wasn't there anymore. The wind picked up. Leaves rustled. Then he turned back to me. I don't know what you want, Emily. I really don't. But if you still feel something real, then say it. Right now. Before this turns into something else we both regret. And just like that, everything I had been avoiding, every feeling, every mistake, every buried hope, came rushing to the surface. But before I could speak, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Brendan, I think we need to talk. Before she finds out. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Mark saw the screen. He didn't say a word. He just looked at me. And now I don't know what to do. Because Brendan was never supposed to be part of the story. But now he is. And nothing makes sense anymore. I didn't reply to Brendan's message right away. I stared at it for what felt like forever, my heart thudding so hard it hurt. Mark didn't say anything. He just waited, watching me closely like he was bracing for whatever came next. Finally, I looked up. He wants to talk. Says it wasn't supposed to go this far. Mark didn't flinch. They always say that. We agreed to meet Brendan later that evening. Mark wanted to come. I said no at first, but he insisted. This involves both of us now. And I need to see it for myself. We chose a public place, a quiet corner of a coffee shop near downtown Austin. It was dim, late enough that the place wasn't crowded. Brendan walked in wearing that same smug calm I remembered from New York. Like nothing ever touched him too deeply. He saw us and paused. You brought him. I didn't bother with pleasantries. Cut the crap, Brendan. Tell us everything. Now. He sighed and sat down. It wasn't supposed to go this far, he repeated, eyes flicking between me and Mark. I didn't plan to get involved. At first, I was just curious. You talked about Mark all the time when you were with Alex. I started following him on socials. Then I saw her. You sought her out? Mark's voice was sharp. I messaged her anonymously at first, Brendan admitted. We talked. She didn't know who I was. She thought I was just someone who understood her. She started opening up. About you. About how she felt like she was living in your shadow. I felt sick. So you manipulated her? No, Brendan said quickly. I liked her. That part was real. But yeah, I didn't tell her the whole truth. I never said I knew you. Or Alex. Or anything. Mark stood up. You're a snake. I didn't sleep with her, Brendan said. I swear. But it was close. And not telling her who I was? That was wrong. I know that. The air around the table got tighter. Mark clenched his jaw. She's wearing a necklace I gave Emily. You helped her weaponize something that mattered to me. To both of us. Brendan's face shifted slightly, like a flicker of regret. I didn't mean for it to go that far. She found it. Asked questions. I didn't stop her. Then Sarah walked in. None of us had seen her come through the door. But there she was, standing behind Brendan, eyes wide, trembling slightly. I knew something was off, she said softly. I just didn't want to believe it. Brendan turned, panic on his face. Sarah, she held up her hand. Don't. She walked over to Mark, tears in her eyes. I didn't know. Not at first. But then I saw the messages. The saved photos. I confronted him last night. That's why I followed him here. Mark didn't say anything, just looked at her like she was already gone. Sarah turned to me. I thought you were the past. But I was wrong. You were still in his heart, the whole time. Then she looked at Brendan. And you? You used me. You made me feel seen, and now I feel disgusting. She slapped Brendan across the face, loud enough to draw attention from the barista. No one intervened. It was that kind of moment. Brendan didn't fight it. Just sat there, stunned, hand to his cheek. Sarah walked out. I could hear her sobs even after the door shut behind her. I looked at Mark, expecting something, anger, sadness, anything. But he looked empty. I can't do this, he said quietly. I thought I could. I thought maybe we could find something again. But I'm just tired. Tired of lies. Tired of chasing something that's already broken. My throat felt like sandpaper. Mark, I'm not mad at you, he said. I'm mad at myself. For hoping. Then he left. No dramatic goodbye. Just turned and walked away. Brendan finally stood up, wiping his face. I'm sorry, he said, barely above a whisper. I nodded. You don't get to be forgiven. Not yet. I left too. The days that followed were quiet. Sarah texted me once. I don't blame you. I wish I could. But I don't. I didn't answer. Mark disappeared from social media. Deleted everything. Mutual friends said he took some time off work. Went to Colorado, maybe. Brendan? I heard through someone he moved back to New York. I didn't care to ask more. And me? I stayed in Austin. Got a new job. Started running again. Therapy. Journaling. The works. It's strange. I used to think closure came from someone else, an apology, a reunion, a grand moment where everything made sense. But sometimes closure is just a quiet decision you make. To stop reopening the wound. To let it scar. Mark was my past. He was my calm in the chaos. But he's not my future. I see that now. I don't know what's next. But I'm not chasing fantasy anymore. I'm trying to build something real with myself first. That necklace? I mailed it to him. No note. He didn't reply. That's okay. Mark and Emily do not reunite. Mark walks away for good. Sarah is betrayed by both Emily and Brendan and breaks off the engagement. Brendan disappears. Emily begins a new chapter alone, focused on healing. There is no fairy tale, just a painful, clear end. Sometimes you don't get a second chance. You just get the truth, and you decide if you're strong enough to live with it.